Hi, welcome to the Beer Temple. I am Chris Quinn, and today I've got a fun little tasting experiment. I wanted to take the same beer, barrel-aged and unbarrel-aged, and kind of try them side by side. These are both coffee beers from AleSmith Brewing in San Diego Stout. That's the Speedway Stout, one of the first coffee stouts that I remember hearing about back in the day when I was first getting into, these bigger beers. When I was back still on the East Coast and hearing about, this really amazing stout that I think I bought on a trip out to California years and years ago. This is about a year old right now, just over a year old, bottled late 2013. This one, I'm trying to see if there's any sort of bottling information on it. I think it's probably about the same, so I think they're probably both 2013s. I've had them just kind of sitting around for a little while and just wanted to see kind of how these beers are doing. I believe they are the same age, and I wanted to see how the barrel is kind of affecting the beer. I haven't had the base beer in quite a while, but this was really, like I was saying before, one of those like kind of up on a pillar beers that people would really kind of seek out. And it's funny, Speedway, AleSmith rather, not available in Chicago. It seems like more and more are coming, so I wouldn't be surprised if that changes soon. Can I just rip this thing off? Probably not. Might want to open this up. So this is just the regular standard version of both the Speedway Stout and the show may not happen, guys, because I can't get the foil open. Okay, there we go. So they've started doing a lot of specialty versions of it. They did the weasel poop version of it. They did a Vietnamese coffee. I think they did a Jamaican coffee, and any sort of other variety that they can do. So this is not those. There's no weasel poop in this one, sadly. It's just the regular versions, and now that the foil is off, there you go. Huge price discrepancy between the two. I think this is almost like a $40 bottle of beer, and this one I think is like, maybe 15 bucks or something like that. So those must have been some pricey barrels there, guys. Yeah, not too many. Oh, does this thing not work for big bottles? I guess it kind of does. Also just basically broke my finger. No hiss or anything when that came off. We'll see what that means. Oh, there's still some carbonation there. Let's take a look what we got here. Real dark beer, as can be expected. As you're swirling it, you are getting some very dark, like mocha colored highlights, a little bit of head, a little bit of oxidation, a little bit of age, but I'm getting a chocolatey coffee note to it. Yeah, as I'm kind of swirling it a little bit more, just the thick fudginess is coming out. It's not an excessively fruity or vegetal smell at all. It's really just concentrating on those big milk chocolate and fudge notes here. What does this taste like? This tastes like about a year and a half old, really good coffee stout. There is, thanks, Chris, that was so informative. No, so it is fairly thick, chewy. And by chewy I mean it's got that kind of sweet mouthfeel, that sweet taste to it, in conjunction with a kind of a full mouthfeel. There's a fair amount of carbonation there as well, which is nice. It kind of lightens it up just a little bit, rather than just completely kind of coat your palate and just make it overly oily tasting. There is a little bit of a slick factor there as well. The overall flavor profile is definitely that milk chocolate, but like a higher quality, maybe a little bit of dark chocolate, but the coffee notes are definitely like your standard, what you would imagine a you know, house blend to be, just like a light chocolatey, roasty note. Now there is a fair amount of bitterness on the back end as well that kind of comes through. I do believe it's probably somewhat from hops, some hop bitterness that's still around, as well as some bitterness that has come about from the roast malts and potentially even the coffee that was added in there too, because you know, as you guys probably know, you do get bitterness from coffee as well. So when you add the coffee into it, that is what's going to happen. Some of that bitterness will be extracted there as well. Really nice beer. I think one of the better, just straightforward coffee stouts out there. Certainly one that I would not reject at any time. It's not the most complex coffee stout I've ever had, but does every beer need to be this overly complex thing? It's giving you what you want. If you want a really nice chocolatey coffee stout, that is what this beer is giving you, you know? And like I said, you know, I think the bitterness and the carbonation really help make it a little more drinkable, lighten it up just a bit, considering it is a big Russian Imperial stout. Yeah, plays for 6 to 24 months or longer, so it says it'll age, and yeah, I'd say this is yeah, good beer. All right, now, I've never had this one. Let's see, it's all gold, talking a lot of things, none of which are especially useful. Pretty strong beer too, 12% alcohol. There we go, there's a hiss. Come on, come on. Come on. Just does not want to work. Where it, aha. There you go, I sell these at the store. Let's see if this will work. There you go. Would have been cooler if my little cheap Beer Temple branded thing just popped it right off. Whatever. All right. It seems to pour a little more thick, full-bodied. The head also dissipates much quicker on this one. I'm already noticing. I would say it's potentially, yeah, it's darker and it's fuller. I can tell just by swirling it that it's got a thick, more oily body to it. And it really does smell. I mean, the base beer pops through a lot. I'm getting a lot of that same slight oxidized chocolate, milk chocolate, fudge, maybe a hint more dark chocolate, and then bourbon. Not necessarily, you know, maybe some oak and some bourbon. So not massive amounts of those like toasted vanilla and coconut that jumped out at me when I first smelled it. It was base beer and spirit. So whiskey spirit on top of it. Now, smelling it again, there is also, as I mentioned before, some barrel to it, but it's like a woody note to it. Not some of those, like I just mentioned before, like coconut. It's amazing how it's the same percent alcohol I just checked. It just tastes so much more full-bodied. It's really much more mouth coating. I just got these. They work pretty well for beer, actually. The beer is much more slick, chewier. the carbonation is lower, which also may be enhancing that. You know, the carbonation helps scrub and lift that beer off my tongue, and this one may be having me perceive it to be lighter, where this one, the lower carbonation, like I said, it just kind of coats your palate. I am getting now some toast. I'm getting some of those, what are those Girl Scout cookies called, with like the little like toasted, like rings with little toasted pieces of coconut and some caramel on it. They're like Samoans or something like that. I get a little bit of like a Samoan note to it. Delicious beer, really good beer here. The coffee is still quite prominent. It's melded in with the base beer. It is not coffee, and now all you have is coffee. And I get that sometimes in beers, and it's quite delicious. But again, you know, it can be one note. This is a very complete beer. There is some coffee, barrel, base beer. I mean, really, what else do you want? All the components are showing and they're harmonizing. Really good beer. Really pricey beer. You know, is this worth $35, $40? How much is a really good coffee bourbon barrel stout worth to you? I mean, I would put it up there with, you know, with a lot of the other really good ones. You know, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the absolute cutting edge top tier, but it's a really, really solid one. And you know what? It all comes down to personal taste. So I could easily see this being somebody's favorite. So I don't want someone who's like, I love that beer. All personal opinion. So anyway, guys, on that note, I will unpop this again. I will pour myself a healthy glass because I like this beer. And then now I shall share this beer with the world, or at least the portion of the world that walks through my store today. Guys, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this show. If there's any specifics that you want to see me do in the future, feel free to drop me a line, info@craftbeertemple.com, or leave a comment on the show at craftbeertemple.com. Like and leave reviews on iTunes. That's always very much appreciated, and it helps get the show out to other people who you think may be interested. That's a great way for people to discover it on iTunes. That's about it, guys. Until next time, I've got some great bourbon barrel aged Speedway Stout to drink, and hey, if you drop the dough for it, hopefully you do too. Pop it open. Cheers.